Hi ladies, welcome back to Let's Play. Today we're going to do card number 12 in the series. I have gone Brighton Summary and I hope you enjoy the card. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a plain playing card. As usual, we're going to give it a quick once over just to prime it a little bit. Once that is done, we are going to add dictionary paper. What I have done is I had an old dictionary that I cut up, so I just tore sheets out of that. We are going to use a Modge, just normal Podge, nothing fancy, and we are going to apply it to our card. You'll see that I'm not putting it into the corner because I still want the number to stick out on the card. Alright, I'm going to apply my paper, just flatten it. And I'm going to do 2 layers for this purely because I am adding some stenciled images to it just now. And it just prevents the background from showing through. Alright, so I have now modged that onto my background, left the corner open. And as usual, keep your Podge closed so things don't dry out. And I'm just grabbing my heat gun and I'm just going to quickly heat set that so that I can work on it. You can obviously do it at home, you can leave it to dry on its own speed, it doesn't take long, Podge dries quite quickly. Alright, let's just make sure that's a little bit dry, that's a little bit too wet. And just try it, you'll see your card will buckle a little bit, don't stress about that. Alrighty. Once that is dry, we are then just going to take our scissor and we are just going to trim off all the excess on our card. You can tear it, but I prefer giving it a nice neat edge. It does just look a little bit tidier. Alright, you can throw that away. And there is our background. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tear the corner so that I can see my number sticking out. Perfect. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to apply some color with texture paste to the card. So we're literally looking for that effect. So you'll see it's texture paste with a little bit of color. So what I have done is I've taken a stencil. I went through my stencils and tried to find one that's got a bigger pattern. This one is also by Celebrate. It's called Michelle. They honored me by making me my own stencil when I done a function once. And what I'm going to do is just normal, your normal Mod Podge. We're going to be putting that, I can just find mine quickly. Just a little bit of Podge. Oh, not Mod Podge, sorry. Texture paste. Apply that to your background. We just want a thin layer because we do need this to dry quite quickly. Okay, so I'm just wiping off all the excess. And there we go. Just take that away. And there is our texture paste. Again, you need to heat set this for time constraints. When you heat set texture paste, you'll see it bubbles. It actually starts looking like puff paint. When it looks like puff paint, then you know that it is actually set. Okay, and that it has dried. So we're going to go. You'll see my paper is starting to go a little bit yellow because it's burning a little bit. That's fine because I am using yellow colors anyway. So don't worry about that too much. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. So if you have a look, can you see how the paint bubbles, the texture paste? Okay, there we go. It's dry enough. And that is our background layer 1 done. Next thing we're going to do is I'm using this range of paper by Celebrate. I just loved the sunny sunflowers, so because of that I am going to go with yellows. I went through my stash and I found some oxides and some inks in my stash that I thought the colors would go well. This is fossilized amber and I've used wild honey. You can use distress oxides, you can use inks, you can use any of the ones that you've got, so long as you just water it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a stamping block, just a normal Perspex block, and starting with my lightest color, I'm going to stamp on my block and then using water. Okay, so spray it that you get lots of color onto your block. And I am going to literally apply this color all the way around the outside of my card so that it's got color. Okay, I'm going to just apply a little bit more color here. And so my color is not as yellow as I wanted it to be. Make sure your brush is dry when you start, and then rather use water, clean water. I took my brush out of the dirty water, so it brought out the colors. All right, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a little bit of color to my other stencils. Okay, so I'm just going to dry that layer quickly. You don't have to over dry it, you just want a little bit of the color sticking through. If you think it's still too light, you can add another color, but remember we are layering. Alright, so for now that's fine. I'm just going to wipe this clean. Alright, and now I'm going to apply my wild honey. So this is the ink. Okay, nice and dark. Again, I'm spraying water. Mix the water, and you'll see now that the color is a lot darker. All right, so that is actually the nice color that you want. So first layer, try and do the same thing so that the color stands out a little bit more. Alrighty, there we go. And again, I'm just lightly going to go over some of my circles. There we go, you can see how nice that looks. Alrighty, again, I'm just going to heat set that. I'm going to hold it there so I don't burn my fingers. And just get that dry as much as possible. You'll see the paint does, the ink does move around a little bit. Don't stress about that. Once it's dry, it will stop moving, obviously. You can let it run if you want to. Okay, so that is your layer of your ink done. So now you've got a nicely colored background. Alright, depending on how dark or light you want to go, you'll have different shades. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply if you have a look at the original, I have stamped all the way around the outside. You can actually do this on your sewing machine if you want to. I'm always wary to sew on my sewing machine when I've got sticky layers, because the needle goes into the bobbin and then it destroys your machine. So please make sure it's totally dry if you are going to do that. So what I'm doing, this is a stamp I got from Scrap Collections. Your local shop will be able to still get them for you. And I'm using ground espresso. I didn't want to go with black because my papers were a little bit lighter. Always remember, you apply your stamp pad to your stamp and not the other way around. And I'm going to just stamp all the way around the outside just to give a stamped effect. Alright, there we go. And last one in the corner. Alrighty, I'm just going to move that out the way. So now you can see I've got a nice stamped border all the way around. Again, if you don't have a stamp, don't stress. Just use a Koki and draw a stamp. Draw a stitch. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I have got, from my paper pack, I went and fussy cut out some elements. I had quite a bit left after I designed my layouts. So with these, I'm just going to use my ground espresso because I like that darker color. Just ink them. I'm not going to overly shape them because I do want to raise them on a little bit of foam. And that was my wording, which will go on the top. Okay, and then what I'm going to do as well is just on the outside of the card, I'm just going to give it an extra layer of the brown. Okay, you have to go quite dark just to make sure that it stands out. All right, so once that is done, I'm now going to use foam tape. I have that big roll, so I just cut it into quarters. And just normal foam tape on the back, and I'm going to create a little cluster with my leaves and with my flowers. Oops, sorry. Okay, and then that's my flower layer, which goes on top. All right, so I'm going to put that one about there. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my title. So obviously you can use whatever you want for your wording, and that will go across at an angle. Alrighty, last thing that I'm going to do, I just want to show you. I know a lot of you girls have got all these different glitzing stickles, different types of stickle stuff. Alright, you don't always have to use these as is. What I find sometimes is you just pour some onto your finger and you take your card and you just lightly apply it on top of your images. And what that does is it just makes your images shimmer a little bit. You don't have to put a huge big dollop on, and the color does not show up. So if you have a look just lightly, it does not come out all pink, it just comes out all glittery. Alright, so if you've got like hundreds of these bottles and you never know what to do with it, literally just use them as an accent on your fussy cut elements just to make them glitter a little bit. And then the very last thing is I have just got some fluff. I call it fluff, some girls call it eyelash, something or the other. Alright, and I am going to tuck that under all my elements. It will stay put, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, so that I have a little bit of dimension on my card. Alrighty, that is card number 12. I hope you girls have enjoyed it. Can't wait to see what you come up with. Remember to post not under the video but under the card 12 post on Scrap and Sell on the Facebook page. And yes, I can't wait to see what you girls come up with. Thank you girls. Bye.